Hi everyone, it is currently the 5th of May 2015, making this update right around 10:30 a.m. Philippine Standard Time. That's about 0130 Universal Standard Time if you are watching around the world. And today we, of course, are continuing to watch Tropical Storm Noul, and this is still moving off here towards the west. You can see here on the satellite imagery that one little dot right there at the tip of my arrow. That is the island of Yap, and they are currently right near the center of circulation. I'm actually fairly surprised at the fact that the winds being reported on Yap actually just below tropical storm intensity at this time, hovering right around about 30 to 33 knots. You can see this report here, 13 actually gusting to 22. It's gone down since the last time I've checked. So it really indicates to us at this time, the wind field is not very large on this storm system, but in the center of circulation, at least based on the Dvorak analysis from the Japan Meteorological Agency, the sustained winds are supposed to be around 45, gusting to 65 knots. Pressure about 992 HPA. You can see the storm warning area extending off here towards the west. Good news, most of that stays north of Palau, so JMA not really expecting anything significant to impact those of you in Palau. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center has winds a little bit higher, about 50, gusting to 65 knots. So do want to point that out. Likely because they have a 1-minute wind skill vice, the 10-minute wind skill JMA uses. But point is, both of them do expect this storm system to intensify and move ever so slowly, but nonetheless on a west-northwesterly projection, eventually coming near the eastern coastline of the Philippines. Note this is 0918 Universal Standard Time. That is Saturday. We have a lot of time to watch this. I'm making this update on Tuesday. That's a 5-day forecast here, guys. So the storm system, of course, is going to continue to intensify, possibly up to a Category 3, Category 4 equivalent of a storm. If this was in the Atlantic, it will be taking its time as it does so. And that's a key thing to keep in mind, because the slower a storm system is, the more likely you're going to have a subject to air. And what I mean by that is that we have a very weak steering flow around this storm. We, of course, have our high pressure ridge off here towards the north, but it all depends on when this storm gets here just off the coast of Luzon, how it's going to be interacting with passing troughs that are coming in out of southeastern China. Remember, this is starting to get into the rainy season, so we get the rainy season front that kind of sets up right in here. When that occurs, sometimes you get these deeper troughs that occur in the upper atmosphere. Those can sometimes dive down a little bit farther towards the south, and let's actually pull up the upper level winds so you can get a little bit of an idea what I'm talking about right there with the jet stream. So it all depends on how this jet stream interacts with our storm system later this week. So we still got plenty of time to watch, because if it goes a little bit faster or slower, it can interact with a passing trough or a ridge, as we're seeing here by Friday. If it interacts with a ridge, that means it would go farther there towards the west into Luzon. Let's see what the ECMWF is showing by the time Saturday rolls around. They're actually expecting our storm system to just be off the coast of Luzon here, with that ridge still in place before veering towards the north, just scraping the coastline of Luzon around Cagayan over there towards Apari, and then eventually moving off towards Taiwan. That's what the ECMWF is saying, and I kind of have to be in line with that. Actually, one of my big thoughts with this storm at this time, especially into the long range, heading into the weekend, of course, is that anybody along the coastline of Luzon, you really want to be watching this very closely. And this is just showing you the GFS for Saturday evening, for example. Now, this is one particular model, and it does show this kind of recurving off there towards the north, but it's not well out to sea. And that's the big thing, is that this still could waver a little bit farther towards the west, and that's why we got a big cone of air, and that's why we use a cone of air in tropical cyclone forecasting, because if this wavers farther towards the west, it means it's just a dramatic difference between getting maybe some passing showers or getting the full-fledged typhoon, and that's why we often say continue to check back in for updates. If I was a betting man, though, I would say the northern coastline, northeastern coastline of Luzon, it's going to be impacted by this storm system. At the very least, tropical storm strength winds high enough to cause some damage near the immediate coastal areas. The other big thing is that this could surge in some southwest monsoonal winds, which means it could kind of kick off the rainy season potentially, if it does come to pass, and really kind kind of develop into a storm that pulls in enough moisture out of the southwest. Meanwhile, let's scroll a little bit farther ahead here into Monday of next week, and I'm just showing you this is the GFS model. And it's actually been pretty accurate as of late. So we're looking at an exceptional long range, about 7 days out, but nonetheless, it's with a pretty decent model recently. And the big thing with this does pick up in the passing trough, pulls our storm system towards the northeast. It's going to start moving at a fairly fast pace at this point, but those of you into Okinawa and the southern Japanese islands, I really do think that you should be watching this fairly closely too. If you got plans on this coming Monday, this could have an impact quite significantly on Ishigaki, Miyako, and potentially the main island of Okinawa here. And then, of course, you can't go away without seeing the other side of the screen here, which is obviously another storm system being picked up here by the GFS model outlook, just indicating to you that there is the threat of something approaching Guam and potentially longer than that, intensifying into something stronger than that as it pushes past Guam. So a lot of stuff happening in the coming week, and really what I'm saying in short here is that we are going to be looking at a pretty active start to May out here in the trop. Just get ready and get prepared. Actually, if you are in the eastern coastlines of the Philippines here, from basically Samar north, now is the time to get ready, because the big thing is that this storm is moving slow enough, and that does make for some uncertainty in the forecast, but it also really lets you know that it's coming, and you have zero excuse to be caught off guard by this. It will be impacting if you prepare and you don't get really intense weather, which you probably will know if you will or not by the time Thursday or Friday comes around. You're nonetheless prepared for the next storm. That's it. Nonetheless, I don't see any losing situation in preparing for this one. And if you are farther here towards the north, keep an eye on it. The big thing is the rainy season front could pull it along, and it could be some blustery conditions if you are in the southern Japanese islands. And then, of course, back here towards the west, the next one. This one's going to be called Dolphin, by the way. I think that's just such a comical name. But Dolphin, if this one does form up here just towards the east of Chuuk. All right, guys, that is all for now. Thanks again for watching here at westernpacificweather.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please post them down there in the comment box below. I always appreciate your feedback. Also, if you have any reports or anything from the smaller islands, specifically out here into Yap, which you are currently being impacted by this storm, let me know your feedback there. Some reports, maybe some photos, and of course, heading into the weekend. Stay safe out there in the Philippines. Thanks for watching.